How did you start like a mural painting?
I usually go left to right. I like it, but I kind of wish the art was first.
No, I understand.
My last job I ever had, I was an elementary school teacher. I said I bought 1.2 million gallons of paint.
I don't know, maybe I'm not a true artist or whatever.
You want a new life. Start building it parallel to the one you have now.
You should be happier.
I'm comparing myself to some ballers now. A giant octopus.
Welcome back to Be Frank Podcast. I'm your host, Yosuke Shingu. This is episode 10 with Jack Fowler, artist, musician. I can't wait to learn how to paint gigantic walls in today. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming. And then people who doesn't know about you and the listeners, can you introduce yourself?
My name's Jack. I've been in the city over a decade now. I'm an artist here in the city and host a radio show on the Spy, and that's usually how people know who I am.
Yeah, awesome. So you are mural artist for OKC Topaz, right? Is that the Bricktown OKC Topaz?
I've made two for Downtown OKC Inc.
Gotcha.
And they were both just sort of facilitated me working for a private company the first time.
Gotcha.
The first one I made was in 2015, the end of 2015. It was the Bricktown Octopus. It's like 200 feet long. And that was a Downtown OKC initiative that they helped me do that. I've never worked for Bricktown, but I've got one on the canal. I've got a peacock mural on the wall.
Oh, nice. So how did you start a mural painting?
How did I start painting murals, or how did I actually start the first one I painted?
Let's do both. How did you start painting?
I can't remember. I just remember thinking that I could do that. I'd been a working artist for a few years, and I thought, I want to try a mural now. And I was friends with a couple of people who worked on this Downtown OKC, and I'm sure I told a lot of people that I wanted to try it. And maybe I think I'd applied for one I didn't get. They usually open them up like a call for artists. Mm-hmm. And I think I'd done that, and I wasn't awarded that job, but they saved my stuff. And so they called me up one day out of the blue and came to my studio and said, "Do you want to paint this building?" And it was the back of the Bricktown Event Center.
Oh,
the
nice.
Coca-Cola Center, I don't know what it is now. This huge building, and they said, "You can paint whatever you want." And that was it.
What did you paint?
A giant octopus.
Oh, awesome.
200 feet long and 22 feet tall, something like that. It's my first one.
So whenever you wanted to, they said, paint whatever you want.
Yeah.
Why did you paint octopus?
Well, the shape of the building was sort of difficult to see anything on. It's not very tall, but it's real long and skinny. And my girlfriend is really into octopuses. And we had just started dating at that time. And I had been reading all these articles about how fascinating an octopus is and how scientists really can't explain what they are or how they got here. Their DNA is a lot of mystery wrapped up in them. And so I was just had been thinking about them a lot at the time. And as soon as I saw one on that building, that's all I could see.
Oh, nice.
I knew that's what I was going to do.
So was the process like to paint mural painting? Do you paint somewhere else and then you etch it and then you paint it? What's the process of painting a mural?
I have a digital program that's really good that I use for mock-ups. When somebody comes to me and pitches me an idea, I just take a photograph of that building.
Right.
And then I kind of draw on it and go through some ideas. But once I have the idea and I actually start on the building, I just walk up to it and start.
Really? Do you start from bottom or do you start from top?
It depends.
Yeah?
I've never really thought about that. I usually go left to right, just because that's the way our brains are trained, I think, if that's how we grew up reading. I don't sketch anything out first on the wall. I don't. If it's small enough, I can project it. But I still haven't really done a mural that I've projected. I just know I can. But I just walk up and start.
Huh.
I just figure.
Do you start with like a painting, or do you like a that would be permanent painting? Mm-hmm. Is that spray paint or like?
No, I haven't done that yet, but I want to learn.
Oh, got you.
I could make more.
Right.
It's faster.
Yeah.
Like that's really why I want to learn how to do that. But it's not real conducive to my style. I'm a color block guy. I don't blend a lot of color. So like, spray painting is still a thing I'm going to learn later. You know, like if I get a mural this week, it's still going to be a brush on a wall.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
So how many paint does it take to paint the mural?
Well,
like about the OKC octopus.
Okay, the octopus was, not as much as you would think.
Really?
I think total, I bought the base color in 5-gallon buckets. Because I didn't paint the wall behind it. I just painted the octopus like on the gray wall. So that saved me some. But I bought like 3 5-gallon buckets of that orange color. And I don't know, we're talking like less than 50 gallons to do something that big.
So like is that a paint bucket, like a normal paint bucket, right? Is that the gallon?
Yeah, usually, yeah.
Oh, okay. So less than 50. I mean, that's
not as much.
That's kind of a lot too, though.
I made a joke online after I finished that I said I bought 1.2 million gallons of paint, and a lot of people believed that.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, well, I think it was like 37 somewhere. But it's weird to look at a piece of art that big,
right,
and realize how far you stretched one color out of like 1 gallon. I mean, it goes farther than you think sometimes.
Huh.
Wasn't bad.
That's interesting.
Didn't kill me.
That so you are a full-time artist since 2011, right?
Yeah.
So if you can explain what is full-time artist, I guess, job description, like what do you do?
It's actually a good question. And you were talking earlier about how, or somebody mentioned that I do a lot of different things. All the working artists I know do a lot of different things. It means that most days, my work days, I go to my studio and I paint all day and I go home. But like, I also am teaching a class on shoe painting at Francis Tuttle after the new year. And, mural jobs whenever I can find them. And I host a radio show. And you sort of have to make your living piecemeal. I don't know anyone who just paints pictures and that's their income.
Right.
I mean, it's the bulk of it if you're lucky. But we all supplement our day with little, like teaching residencies and stuff that might not be in your skill set. Like I'm not a sign painter. I usually call someone if someone wants me to paint a sign, like lettering for their business. I'll usually call another artist that's better at that. But if I really need the money, I'll do my best if it's simple enough. So you just sort of push the limits of your own skill set and then you supplement it with whatever comes along. That's
so
what most people do.
What do you usually paint? Like a regular basis? Do you paint like on the canvas, or what do you?
Mostly, yeah. Lately, I've been doing a lot of digital prints. I love that. That's a new thing for me. But mostly, I'm just a paintbrush on a canvas guy. Started doing custom sneakers a few years ago. I've really liked doing that. That's taken off a little bit. But mostly I'm just a painter.
Gotcha. So before 2011, what were you doing?
Well, a bunch of stuff. Never for too long. The job I quit, my last job I ever had, I was an elementary school teacher.
Oh, gotcha.
And before that, I worked at small town newspapers, and then I was a musician, and I bounced around for a few years. But I taught elementary school for 3 or 4 years. That's what I was doing when I started really
Were you
painting.
teaching art?
No, just 4th and 5th grade.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Everyone always asks me
Yeah.
if I taught art, and I think I would have hated that. I know I wouldn't have become an artist if I had taught art.
Why would you say that?
I wouldn't want to do it when I got home. I'd be exhausted from it.
Right,
you know?
that's true.
No, it's just 4th and 5th grade, and I used to wear a jacket and tie to school every day. And it got to the point where all my jackets and ties had paint on them because I wouldn't even change clothes when I got home from school. I was so ready to start painting, I wouldn't even change, and it kind of made me think, it's time to try this, you know?
Got you.
Yeah.
So what was the point of your life, and then can you walk me through like when you're quitting the job from as an elementary school teacher to like, man, I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna become a full-time artist. What was that process like?
I have to be honest, I never judge people. I never question anybody's courage if they say, I just can't quit my job right now. I did not quit being an anesthesiologist to be a painter. I was a public school teacher. I made like $31,000 a year. So I'm like, man, if I can't replicate that salary, no harm. I'll just go back. They'll hire me again to be a teacher, and I won't be any worse off than I am now. I didn't think I was going to like die of starvation. I was like, I can make 31 grand a year doing this. And so I was in a fortunate position to where I didn't have a lot to risk at the time. I didn't have a family then, I was single. So I just always like to say that up front. Because I don't want to sound pretentious when I talk about when I quit my job. But it didn't scare me at all. I was excited. Like I'd had a bunch of jobs in my 20s and 30s, and it seemed like I was good at it enough to make any of those a career, but it just didn't stick. And I wanted out, and as soon as I had my first art show, in 2011, I had it in April, and I quit my job in May.
Nice.
And I've always been a bit of a risk taker, and that one just didn't feel like the biggest risk in the world to me, and I just did it.
That's awesome. So the art show, so I assume you made money at the art show?
Enough to think I could do it again.
Huh.
I didn't sell out or anything, but I made, I sold maybe 3 or 4 or 5 pieces. I don't remember, but I remember thinking like, man, that was about a month's salary, and that's way better than earning it at over a month at a school. Like, I can do this, and yeah, it didn't take me very long to decide. And, working for a public school, there's a lot of things. It wasn't as bad as it is now.
Right.
But there were a lot of really frustrating things for me. I don't want to say morally, but a lot of things that really rubbed me the wrong way about the actual job and the bureaucracy involved. And it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't exactly a leap in the dark or anything, but I knew I could make it work to the tune of 30 grand a year.
Gotcha. So like, a lot of it, for myself too, but I always wanted to be like a artist, like a painter, but like I look at my painting and then I look at it, oh, this sucks. So I just start taking photos and making videos, and then I can do it a lot better. So like I pursue as my career, and then here I am, I'm doing that stuff for a living. But when did you decide, or when did you know you are a good painter?
Painting is a little different from what I used to do. I was always an artist. I was born one, and I drew constantly as a kid. My mother was an elementary school music teacher, and so when she would have a play, I would paint her sets for her. Like even when I was a little kid, I'd get refrigerator boxes from the local store and paint them as her backdrops, and so I knew I was an artist. But like painting was a thing I didn't do until I was maybe after I was 30. And I like what you said about how you've discovered what it is you do now. Like, we all get good at the thing we're good at is because we tried a lot of things that we weren't good at.
Right.
The process of elimination is a handy thing to know.
Yeah.
And painting was just the thing that really took off. But I hadn't really tried it until I might have been 30, 31 years old. My sister asked for a painting for Christmas for some reason.
Have you paint for something?
Yeah, she just said, make me a painting for Christmas. And I had to go buy the stuff. I was a drawer. But I really enjoyed it. So I made another and another and another. And then I started giving them away to friends. And it just that's just what I've kind of done ever since.
So what's the difference, drawer and painting? Is that...
I couldn't tell. It's different. To me, paintings, there's things that are really hard for me to draw. Hands are hard. Teeth, to me, when a person's smiling, that's hard. But that stuff is easier for me with a brush. Like if I was going to paint someone's hand, I can do that pretty well. And I don't know what that means as far as the difference goes, but in my brain I think I'm freer with a brush because I learned it as an adult, and I'm not trying to be... When I was a kid, I wanted to be exact, and you could see me erasing my mistakes on a paper till I wore the paper through, like I was into drawing animals and scientific charts of animals, and I wanted to be precise, and that didn't carry over as much when I've got a brush in my hand. I'm freer, I think. It feels like it's easier to make a mistake for me with a pencil and paper. Most people are afraid when they're a new painter that that's where the mistake is. You even asked me that about murals. So the first thing you do is put permanent paint on. That's what you asked me. It's not permanent because you can just paint over it.
That's true.
It's easier than erasing it because you can't see the mistake you made because there's a new color on top of it.
Right.
But on paper, there's a smudge. I don't know. To me, that's the only difference, and that's just in my mind.
That's cool.
But I couldn't explain it technically. It's the way it feels.
No, I understand. And then, it's interesting you saying that, you can paint over it. And then also you say you don't mix the color too much. That's your style, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you... So you were saying, if you try a lot of things, then... you figured out what I'm good at, what you're good at, and so is that kind of what you did to find out your style right now?
Definitely. I can remember a couple of turning points, or I can name influences that I have that have definitely influenced my style. But I developed it just from doing it, and I don't really remember a set path. I want to do this and this. I just remember all of a sudden I'd done enough that I sort of discovered what my style was the same time everybody else did. It wasn't intentional.
What do you think the most influenced things for your art?
This is the truth. Bugs Bunny cartoons, like old Warner Brothers cartoons, like the Wile E. Coyote desert backdrops. A lot of those were painted by a guy named Ivan Earl. He was a California guy. He paints these incredible lush landscapes, but he's a color block guy too. And as an adult, a friend of mine told me, your work reminds me of this guy named Ivan Earl, and I'd never heard of him. And she showed me his work, and it blew my mind because when I learned to draw as a kid, I have a real vivid memory of drawing the Sleeping Beauty cartoon that Disney put out in the early 80s. Ivan Earl, this guy, made all those animations. And that's what I drew over and over as a kid, even though I didn't know who it was at the time. But those backdrops from those Warner Brother cartoons, a lot of my landscapes look just like that. And OP t-shirts, I think you're younger than I am, but they were like a beachwear thing we wore in the 80s. And it's these sunsets with color stripes and like a silhouette of a windsurfer. And that was heavy for me.
Huh.
Like old marketing campaigns with child of 80s television,
Yeah.
But a lot of that affected my style.
That's awesome. And then does that carry over to every mural you make and stuff?
And not everything. Excuse me, my phone's going off. I forgot to turn it off. I wonder sometimes if it's been detrimental to my career that I don't stick with a style or subject matter for too long. I have bounced around a lot in my career. You can kind of look at the last 12 years and be like, you can see distinct periods of my artistic progression. Mm-hmm. But I think everything I do, more or less, is still that animation style. Every shape gets its own color kind of a thing.
So is that like whenever you are painting or drawing the art, or even mural or whatever, what is the process? Like, is that starts from inspiration, something you looked at, and then you think about it for like a week or so? Like, I don't know, like how's that your brain works whenever you start the painting, if that makes sense?
Sure. I think inspiration is great. You can't ever take a week to think about anything. Right. I don't have enough money. But to me, I really do think a big difference between a person that's artistic and a working artist is a reliance on inspiration. I'm inspired by my mortgage a lot, I'm serious.
Right.
Like I'm going to work today. I want to go to work. I love what I do.
Right.
But I don't always show up knowing what I'm going to do. You look for inspiration wherever you can find it, but if you wait for it, you'll starve. And so,
how long usually your paint takes?
Depends. Size matters a lot, obviously. I've worked on paintings for months, and I've finished some in days.
So what about Octopus Mural? How long?
35 days.
35 days.
Yeah, and I worked at least 12 hours a day, almost every day of those 35.
What's the size of mural again?
We just stepped it off, so I don't have like an architectural rendering. But 200 by 25
feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, that is.
It's
huge.
still the big. Well, it's the biggest mural I've ever painted. But, yeah.
So like, cause I was at EOC Center, like there's a tech school.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about photography and video to kids, and then they're asking me how to become a professional, and then they're taking a photography class, right? And then it's the only difference from professional to non-professional hobbyist is just if somebody pay you a penny.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean?
That's absolutely the only difference.
So then they're saying like how to make a living. Well, first you have to start charging a little, then like you figure out what your market is, and then you figure out like if you say your cost 5 times, and if I get 3 jobs, then that's a good price. If you say 5 times out of 5, you're probably cheap. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
I never thought about it that way, but that's a good rule of thumb. Like you don't want to bat 100, 1,000. If everybody says yes, then it's too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I think about how I price everything what I do. But how do you value your art?
It's hard. I talk about this. I still ask my buddies to this day. I asked somebody this week, what would you charge for this? I never want to feel like I'm too far either way. You want to stay in that sweet spot. But I'd rather err on the side of pushing it a little bit to make more. Mm-hmm. I value my art by size and how long it takes me. And when I'm done with something, especially like something that I've done not as a commission, but just for myself, those rare times when I have time to just paint because I would love to paint. Like, if I like it more, I'll charge more for it. If I think it's better, then this is what it costs. If it's not my favorite, then But I've got a bit of a formula just as a jumping off point, and if you start dealing with enough people that want a commission, you have to have sort of a set standard, or your reputation for your price range will never get out there. I want people to know they can't get me for free, but that's because you have to start charging every,
right.
sliding scale from the time you start until where I am now, till the time I die. I hope that scale will adjust as I go.
What was the first paint you sold?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
How much did you sell? Do you remember?
It was way cheaper than I would now. I've never thought about that. I don't remember the first one I sold. I'm sure it was a few $100, maybe $300 or $400. I'm sure that's all it was worth.
How much do you sell it for now?
Once again, depends on the size. I've got one in my studio now. There's two that are commissions right now. One of them's smaller, and I got $500 for it, and one of them's big, and I got $6,500. So that's sort of the range I work in, depending on the size and what I'm painting.
Can you tell me a little bit about commission art? Like, what does that mean, commission art?
People call you and say, "Can you paint my horse? Can you paint my family?" I do family portraits sometimes, especially this time of year.
Gotcha.
It's where they come to you and request something.
And then they tell you, so family portrait, they send you a picture or something, or?
Yeah, I usually try to get multiple photographs of every person in it, and then I pick the one that works, and we just sort of go from there.
And then you talk to that person, and then figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like, you quote, how long does it take?
Yep. I tell people once we agree on a price, I sort of pitch them a time limit, and I say not a limit, but I always try to aim a little long so that I'll get it to them before.
Right.
It doesn't always work out that way, but
yeah.
It's always a long negotiating process until it's done, and then that's the relief.
Right.
And I can actually start painting it. The rest of it's tricky.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and then also, like, I was always wondering, do you go to like a museum?
Do I go through them? Yeah.
Yeah.
As often as I can. I love museums.
So I always love going to museum to look at art, and I kind of like feel good to go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like whenever I go to a museum, I don't know, maybe I'm not true artist or whatever. I go to look at a painting, and then I was like, oh, this looks nice, and then I just move, to like go through the motion process, and then sometime I look over and I just see some people who are really into art, and then I can tell they're like appreciating the art and they're getting inspiration, but also like trying to figure it out, hidden meaning to it or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you could give advice to me or whoever, how can individual can appreciate art more or like effectively? How do you do it?
I'm just like you.
Yeah.
I love going to museums, but the last show that affected me the way you just described, where I lingered in front of pieces, was the Walter Eos sports photography show.
Huh.
Have you seen that? I'm a big sports fan, and I stayed at that one for an hour and a half. I mean, I'd stand in front of something. I wasn't looking for hidden meaning, but like at an art museum, I'll find one or two paintings that I love, and I love something about them, and I'll linger. But I think advice for appreciating art is like advice on how to be taller. I mean, you either do or you don't, right? I mean, so however you enjoy a museum, I think that's great. Honestly, I think people that stand in front of a painting and try to find hidden meanings, I don't know any artist that would behave that way.
Oh, really?
Not really. Not that I'd be buddies with, because I think that'd be annoying.
Right. Do you think your art do you have a hidden meaning in your art?
And some of it, but it's not hidden. I've made political art before. I used to be a political cartoonist even. I have some subtle, every meaning, if I make art with a meaning, it's me being a smart mouth. Like it's a joke. Kind of, my friend Kayla calls it brat art. I love that term.
Yeah.
I make that sometimes.
Yeah.
Mostly I'm after something else, like how my shadows laying over the land look, or a thunderstorm that I want to recreate the feeling of. It's more about making something that I like how it hits me visually than a meaning. And there's nothing wrong with people that do make art that way. It's not really what I do usually.
Gotcha.
In fact, I'm kind of working towards a show concept right now where I'm painting on TV screens, flat TV screens. And there's some real nonsense in these paintings, like weird stuff that but none of it means anything.
Got you.
It's just for the sake of the joy of being silly.
Got you, yeah.
I think there's value in that. I painted a mural in Eufaula in September, and it was on a 147-year-old jailhouse that's still standing. It was kind of a miserable place and was housing some miserable people back before statehood, like, an old jail. Had some trauma associated with it.
Yeah.
And I painted the whole building, and it was old-timey boxers, who stand like this in their photos, and they were fighting turkeys. It was just a big brawl of old-timey boxers fighting turkeys. And everyone who stopped asked for a meaning, and some of them would even come up and tell me what the meaning was.
Like, you're the artist.
Like, I get it. It's this, isn't it? And they'd say some nonsense.
Right.
And it was hard to explain to people, like, it means, if there's a meaning, it's that you experience joy when you roll up on it. That's all I want for most of it. Like, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to aim at being deep to have a deep impact on somebody.
Got you.
You don't have to do that. You just have to be true, I think.
Yeah, always. It has to be truthful, and I mean, if I can enjoy a museum, I think that's it then.
Yeah, if you enjoy it, then that's perfect for you. I mean, enjoy it however. At least you're in one.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it however you can. I think art hits everybody very differently.
Right.
And if people enjoy the intellectual component of it, and they like standing in front of their buddies and debating what is use of dark and light mean in a grander scheme, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not really me, but
that's awesome. What is a part of the, I bet you love your job, but what is a part of the job you love the most?
My freedom. I don't owe anyone my time, except the people that I want to owe it to. And that's, anytime you want to be your own boss or start your own business, or go that direction with anything, you're just trading one set of stresses for another. And my stress now, when it comes to my career, is lack of money and the uncertainty of knowing when the next money's coming.
Right.
So the pluses now are my days are my own, and how much money I make is largely due to my own initiative.
Yeah.
And how much I go looking. When I had a job, lack of money was still a stress.
Yeah.
I wasn't. So I traded the daily stress of owing someone else my time for the occasional stress of not knowing where my money's coming from. It's totally worth it to me. It wasn't even a trade. I couldn't imagine going back to having a job now. Can't imagine. I don't know how I did it. But that's my favorite part is that my day is mine, and how I work it is up to me. And if I need to go somewhere, I don't have to ask for time off. And that's my favorite.
That's awesome. So the listener who are maybe they're good at painting and they're just doing hobby, right? And then maybe that person wanted to go to become a professional artist like you. What advice you have to them to start a full-time professional artist career?
I got some really good advice when I was younger that I think is still good advice. If you want a new life, start building it parallel to the one you have now. You don't have to quit your job to start being a professional painter. If you are a brain surgeon and you want to be a ballet dancer, start taking ballet classes on your off weekends. And if you're good at it, it'll lead to a community theater where you can dance. And when your new life outgrows your old one, quit the old one. You can build it parallel. You don't have to take a leap off of a high dive to start your own business in anything. Start it while you're doing what you're doing now until it outgrows it. And if it never outgrows it, then it wasn't meant to be. Try something else.
That is so true. I mean, a lot of people are scared of trying something new. And it's about the priority, right? Even though you have a 9-to-5 job, well, you have like maybe like 18 hours. Or no, not 18 hours. Like potentially 12 hours if you don't sleep, you know?
Right.
So
right.
you can start something. That's
start small and see if it takes off.
Yeah.
And I just that was helpful to me at the time when I was deciding on whether or not to do this. The gift that I was given is that it didn't take much, financially at least, for my new life to outgrow my old one.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's a harder thing to do. If I'd have been making $150,000 a year, I probably would have never done it.
Right. That makes sense.
So poverty, I guess, is a great motivator. No matter, even if you have a job, use it.
Yeah.
You know, not that poverty wasn't exactly my situation, but I was broke all the time because I was a school teacher, and the financial stress that I was adopting by becoming an artist didn't seem as crippling because I was pretty practiced at it. I knew what broke felt like.
Right.
So like, if you know what broke feels like and you can handle it,
yeah,
just try it out.
Yeah, if you're gonna be broke either way, then you might as well do what you love.
It's like when something in your house is broken, like your toaster's broken, and people are afraid to take it apart. It's already broken. You can't break it worse.
Yeah.
Take it apart and see. Maybe you can fix it. Like, it's sort of that same mentality. And it's not like most of us, some of people this isn't true for, most people, the worst case scenario isn't you dying in the street, homeless and alone and hungry. The worst case scenario for most of us who want to try something new is it doesn't work and I'm in a little bit of debt now, but back to the grindstone, I found another job, this will be fine.
Yeah.
And I think we're all the star of our own movie, so we tend to be a little dramatic about worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is usually not nearly as bad. That's what I'd tell people. Just try it.
That is true. Huh. So is that what you're doing with your radio show, or?
That's just a hobby. I've done it for 7 years now.
Yeah, it's called Tumbleweeds All the Way Down, correct?
Tumbleweeds All the Way Down.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, I love it. It's like the coolest thing I get to do. Way more people know me for that than my art. It's kind of annoying. Like, I get recognized by my voice all the time now. And I kind of, I don't know. I like it, but I kind of wish the art was first. I just don't think it is anymore, not in people's minds. But like, I'd never done radio, and the owner of The Spy, Ferris O'Brien, really cool guy, kind of a local legend. I'd done a guest spot. I was still a musician then, and I'd come in to play for some telethon. And I got to meet some of the DJs and started talking to Ferris a little bit. And I just started sort of bugging him, like, I'd be good at this. I want a radio show. When are you going to give me a radio show? And then a lady quit, and a spot opened up. And I asked him if I could try out. And he said yes, and I got the show like that week. And I've been doing it ever since. Yeah, I mean, it was just dumb luck and me asking. That's more advice I'd give an artist. Ask. Ask if you can hang in their gallery. Ask if you can do a radio. Like, there's a lot of power in just walking up to a person and saying, hey, keep me in mind.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, you didn't know me. We asked you, hey, you want to be on the show?
Right. I mean, and especially, this is still a small town.
Yeah.
Like, you throw a rock in the pond and the ripples are pretty noticeable here.
Yeah.
And it'd be way harder if we were in, Soho right now.
Right.
To hook any of this up.
Yeah.
But it really matters just saying, hey, I want to do this. I'm letting you know I want to do it. But that's how I got the show.
How long have you been doing it?
7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
Nice.
354 episodes. So.
You do that every week?
Every Sunday night at 8 o'clock.
Nice.
It started as like a roots music show, country and blues, and it's evolved into any piece of cool music I hear from week to week that I like, I play. Ferris has never said a word to me ever about what I can play anything I want. It's a blast.
Nice.
It's really cool. I hope I get to do it for 20 more years.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. It's like relentless, something that you have to do every week.
Right.
But
how do you come up with it, like every new material, I guess?
well, my phone is full of 10-second long videos.
Really?
Like where I am during the week. If I'm watching a movie and I hear a song I like, I'll take a little snippet video. If I'm in a bar and I hear a song, wherever I hear music throughout the week that I like, I'll record it so I don't forget it. And then on Sunday, I wake up and make my playlist and go back through my phone. And that's how I get like 90% of my playlist from week to week is songs I hear in my life that week.
Do you use like Shazam?
Every single song I've ever played on my radio show, I've pulled off YouTube.
Oh, really?
Every single one. I don't even know how. I don't know how other DJs get their songs. I really don't. I don't know if I could if I had to. Like if
Right.
YouTube crashed, I just wouldn't do a show that week, I guess.
Right. So yeah, I do ask this question to every guest though, but 5 years ago, if you can give your advice to 5 years ago yourself, right? That would be 2017. What were you doing in 2017?
Kind of the same things I'm doing now, just not as well. What advice?
So you were a full-time artist.
Yeah, I already had my family. I don't know, man. I guess, other than some specific things that won't matter to anybody but me.
Oh, you should tell yourself.
I guess in a general sense, kind of the podcast answer is quit being so scared of, I don't know. I think it's hard for, I'm not a great public person. Like I'd rather have a few close friends that know me than go out a lot. And I think that's just the way some of us are wired. But I do know that 5 years ago in my art, I filtered too much out because I was afraid of public opinion of it. I stopped before I got started on some stuff that I should have ran with pretty hard.
What do you mean, like whenever you're painting, somebody judge you or something?
Yeah, just the fear of negative attention stopped me from. I wasn't as confident as I should have been. I guess that's the short answer. And I think it's hard in any line of work where my livelihood depends on the public approving of what I do. And that's a difficult tightrope for a guy like me to walk.
How did you get over the lack of confidence as an artist?
I'm not. I'm older and better. Like hopefully we all are as we age.
Yeah.
It's still something I struggle with, but I'm better than I was 5 years ago. And if I could have seen myself back then the way I am now, it would have made me proud.
Nice.
I would have liked the way that 5 years is sitting on me now. So I guess that's a good sign.
Got you.
But I would have started earlier.
Yeah.
Not caring quite as much about some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, cliches for a reason, but I think that one person told me that, I can't make 100 people happy. Who cares, And then also the book called Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah.
Have you read that book?
Yeah.
And then that kind of made me feel like, well, some things I don't really have to care about, and then some stuff I should care about more. And then that's kind of got me. And then as an artist and as a taking a photography and the video, sometimes I look at other people, other professional photographers and the video filmmakers or whatnot, and then I look at their stuff and then I compare to my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, damn, like sometimes I hit like a rock bottom of my confidence because, oh, man, this is not good enough or this is not good. Then like I just go into that dark thought process.
Yeah.
But now what I tell my employees and then teammates and all that kind of stuff is like, yes, you should compare yourself to other people who you are looking up to or respect so you can get better at it to get to their level. But, you know, if you're comparing yourself from a year ago or like last project, as long as you can take away if your one things you did for this project is better than last project, then you should be happier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of what I do to, you know, tell people. And then also I do it to myself. Even like a podcast, I'm listening to myself and I'm like, damn, why do I speak like that, you know? Then now like my intro and all that kind of stuff, I've changed that every time because like, well, I didn't sound good. I'm just going to try a new one. And then maybe I should ask more questions. Maybe I should talk a little more, you know?
Right.
So that's just kind of a little bit of things that, yeah, I speak broken English, but yeah, I did better than last time. That's all I care about, you know?
I've also taken some comfort in the fact that and we all do that.
Yeah.
Like we compare ourselves to especially our contemporaries.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, Carlos Barboza. It's a great example. Like, I've painted several murals. I'm good at what I do. And then, like, a year ago, Carlos Barboza painted a mural on the side of an East Side homeland. And I went up and stood in front of it and thought, I'm never going to get another job again. That's it. This guy is so much better than me that I did. And he doesn't know this. He was a nice dude, man. But, like, it kind of leveled me for a day. I'm like, damn, like this guy is in another galaxy from me. But then I thought, you can't compare yourself to somebody that's brilliant like that unless you're pretty close to where they are. You know what I'm saying? You can, but you might be really misguided. It'd be like a person who's never played basketball thinking, I wonder if I'm as good as Michael Jordan. Like, you don't even wonder that. The comparisons cease to exist when the gulf between them is too far.
Right.
And like, so I kind of take comfort in the fact that I'm comparing myself to some ballers now.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't
that.
see some kid making their first mural and be like, oh man, I hope I'm better than that guy. I know I am. Because it's his first one.
Yeah.
So that I take a little comfort in that. Like your peer level should shift. So there's new, better people making me insecure. Which is better than hacks making me insecure.
Right,
you know, I'd take one over the other.
I love that. You know, I never thought of it that way. I think that like you or who you surround yourself with, and then I guess you're comparing to the person you compare to. I never thought of it that way.
And he upped my game.
Yeah.
Carlos upped my game.
Yeah.
My mural, the next mural I painted was way better than what I would have painted if I hadn't have stood in front of his and felt terrible.
But you find yourself like a little bit of happiness doing that, right? Like
well, sure.
That's
and
awesome.
then, you know, I'm still of the opinion that if you're lucky enough to paint something like a mural, I mean, even if you don't love what you did or you think you could have done better, man, it's still the coolest thing in the world to drive by and see something you painted on the side of a building.
Oh, I bet.
That feels incredible. And you know it's a public piece of art and that it's maybe not permanent, but it's going to be there for a long time, and it's part of a neighborhood now, and it feels great.
Yeah.
So I'm proud. I'm to a point now where I can look back on everything I've ever done, even if I hate it, and still be proud of it.
What's your favorite mural you have done so far?
Probably and it might just be because it's my last one, but I love the boxers fighting the turkeys on that jailhouse. I really do.
That's what you follow, right?
Uh-huh.
Man, I had to drive there.
It was part of a mural festival they had in September. They got 7 new big public pieces, and I was lucky enough to be one of them.
Nice.
I've got a mural in Beer City Music Hall above their bar that I really like. That one really turned out good.
Huh.
And the octopus will always be my first one, and
Yeah.
My hardest one probably. So like I said, I'm proud of all of them, but I'm getting better. So hopefully my favorite one will always be the last one I did.
Yeah.
I guess that's not a goal, but I hope it just works out that way.
Yeah. Well, how about how do you see yourself in 5 years?
I want to be doing exactly what I'm doing now. I just want to be rich. And I mean that means different things. I guess I'm being serious. I want to make just enough money to where I'm not constantly thinking about it.
Right.
That's all the money I need. I don't have very expensive tastes.
Yeah.
I just want to make enough to where I forget that I have it at all. It won't take a lot, and I do like. I hope I'm doing a new kind of art that I never expected to be doing, because that's been happening to me pretty consistently. Mm-hmm. Painting shoes. Murals was the first thing. I never really considered doing that until I was doing it. So I like kind of not knowing what that will be, but I hope there's another one of those things coming down the road that I'm not expecting.
Huh.
That's just a fun thing that goes with the job.
So painting shoes, right? Like, is that commission work or?
Most of it, because you can't paint a shoe and then put it in a show, because that might not be their shoe size.
Oh, got you. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, what do they bring, like a Jordan, Nike, or whatever?
I've only painted Air Force Ones and Jordans so far.
Like, what do they come to you? Like, they say, oh, I want you to paint. What do they ask you?
Ideally, they're just like, we want something you make, and that's it.
Okay.
Once in a while, there's been like a theme that they wanted. Like Grateful Dead shoes I painted. Like Oklahoma State University Cowboys was one. But most people are just like, just do it.
Just do whatever.
Which is all artists' favorite thing to hear.
Right.
But yeah, they're always commissions, and it's a thing that's hard at first, because you have to build up a resume. And you can really only do that as people order them.
Yeah. So whenever you get a job, even like a sneaker or like, for example, mural, right? Then that they ask you to say, hey, you do what you gotta do, right? Now you paint whatever you want. Do you paint from thought process of what would you make them feel happy, or like do you just paint what makes you think it looks cool, if that makes sense?
It does. I think about what would make them happy. Now, I never let that come at the expense of something that I want to do. But if I have an idea and I know they'll hate it, I don't pursue that anymore. And that's just staying alive, keep feeding my family concept. Like, I don't want to be a contrarian. I have to rely on a marketplace.
Yeah, but like people ask you to say paint what you want, right? Mm-hmm. So I was just curious, like, well,
it's a good question.
Yeah.
And with a mural, it's a lot different, because, a pair of shoes. If somebody gives me $300 for a pair of Jordans and they don't like them, it's not the end of the world. They didn't have to get a city ordinance to wear those shoes.
Right.
It's not representing their business.
Right.
So they can just put them in the closet and not hire me again.
Yeah.
But a mural, there's way more consideration for what they have at stake here too.
Yeah.
This is a semi-permanent, piece of public art that will influence their livelihood.
Yeah.
That's why the Octopus was kind of wild. It was a concert venue, so it didn't have to be like, serious or anything.
Yeah.
But like that's a lucky job to get, where they have a business that's that big and that prominent, and they're just like, whatever you want to do. That's rare.
Yeah.
And I understand why it's rare.
Did you ask them, say, hey, I'm gonna paint octopus, is that cool? Or like you just did it?
Well, they told me up front I can do whatever I want, so I just started. I didn't say, you had to go through a city permit process, so they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But I didn't run it by them at first.
Wow.
And they loved it. I hope they still do.
I mean, they're still there, right?
I think the same guys.
Yeah, I mean, like if not, then they could have painted over it, right?
Exactly. once they pay me to paint this mural, if they bulldoze the building the next day, that's their business.
Yeah.
You have to sort of have that in your heart going in, that they might, if they'd sold the building and the new building owner hates it, they might paint over it. That's just the way that goes.
Right. I'm just curious. So, is that ever happened to you? Like for example, like a family portrait, right? Mm-hmm. They come to you, right? They pay you, and then you give the painting to a family. Do they say like, "What is this?" Ever happened to you?
All right. Yeah. Okay. There have been some paintings I've made that I knew that they didn't love it.
Okay.
And there's only been one person be really tacky about it, and she was. And she got on Facebook and kind of blasted me because it didn't match her daughter's bedspread. And it's too orange, and demanded her money back. And that's the only time it's ever gone down like that. Most people are really cool, and you sort of can tell, like, like if they say, you're screwed. if that sound, they don't love it. Or if they use the word interesting, you've swung and missed.
Right.
I don't give them their money back.
Right.
but I wish they liked it more.
Right.
But it happens very rarely.
Because I was curious, because it's like whenever I do photo or video, right? Especially video, if I've heard that before, like, like interesting. And then I asked them, like, what do you don't like about it? What you like? And then with the power of editing, I can edit. Mm-hmm. It's not permanent painting. Right. So I can say, well, let me try this. Does that make you happy? And then they say yes. And then I make sure they're happy.
Right. That's an advantage of what you do.
Yeah.
And you can tweak it afterwards a little bit.
Exactly. And then worst case scenario, I can go reshoot. Right. So I was curious, like, how does artists, like your industry, like how they do it?
I don't know how everybody handles it. If someone ever hated something that they commissioned from me so much that they didn't even want to accept it, I cannot imagine not trying again. Unless they were already really tacky, like that one lady was. But most people aren't. And the only time it's ever come up is when I paint somebody's kid. And I understand, I didn't have kids when I started, but I have a son now. I can understand that because they see something you don't when they look at a picture of their kid. And so if there's something in their eyes that's off that you can't see, they can. And I kind of understand that. But that's the only time anyone's ever been like, I knew that they made the sound.
Yeah.
Like, something's off with with their toddler that I don't know about.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then also, like, probably you take so many time to make sure that doesn't happen. And I do the same thing,
Yeah.
So, I mean, most likely don't happen.
It rarely, I can't remember the last time that's happened. I just remember that it has. And you know how it goes. You want your client base to be happy enough to where they buy something else from you a year from now.
Yeah.
Like repeat clients to me have buoyed my career at times when I really needed it.
Yeah.
And so you want to make everything I make, even if it's, this is why I won't paint people's dogs anymore. I used to paint a dog every time somebody wanted me to because I needed the money, but I phone them in. I don't like painting them. I hurry through them. They're not great, so I can't do them anymore. Because my goal when I paint anything for anybody is to blow them away. I want them to be thrilled with it, not just acceptable. So hopefully, that's what I'm aiming for when anyone commissions anything, is I want them to gasp when they see it, because they love it.
Awesome.
But that's why I can't paint anybody's dog, because I know you're not going to gasp. I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But that really is why I quit, is because I knew that I wouldn't go into it with the right mindset.
Yeah. What's your favorite things for you to draw or paint?
Right now, I love making these digital prints. It's the same.
Is that any subject or?
Right now, it's just Western pop art landscapes. It's the same program I used to mock up my murals, and I just started drawing, and I love making these.
What do you use, like a program?
Procreate on an iPad. It's incredible. I'd never used the digital program before. And the technology is so good that the first week I used it with my stylus, when I'd switch colors, I'd wipe the eye pencil off on my shirt. Because it felt like paint. My brain couldn't tell that I wasn't actually using paint.
It's called Procreate?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Never heard that before.
It's really, really fun. And so that's sort of what I'm doing now when I have a day where I'm not working towards commission work or a specific job. That's what relaxes me right now, is creating on this thing. And then you can sell prints, which is, a good income trickle if you can get enough prints out there on racks that people buy as you go. And so I've been trying that lately.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Awesome. Well, do you have any plug of how listeners and people who are watching on the YouTube video can find you?
JackFowlerArt.com is my website. And my studio is in the Red Rooster building in the Paseo. If anybody ever wants to come by, I'm there like store hours weekdays. I get up early and work till 5 or so. And then Sunday nights at 8 o'clock on 91.7 The Spy, they can hear Tumbleweeds, and that's how to find me.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming
Thanks
out.
for having me. I enjoyed it.
Well, always be frank in the like and comment, and so make sure to subscribe. See you guys next Friday. Peace. All right. Thanks so much, Jack.
Thank you.